Hi, I'm Tim Roehl. Let's talk about studying our mission field redemptively. Now, when you consider the kind of ministries you need to reach the people in your mission field, I want you to first consider what I call a supernatural sequence that helps us prioritize our thinking. Sequence is simple: Christology, missiology, ecclesiology. In other words, it's all about Jesus, it's about the mission field He's given us, and then we decide and determine what kind of ministries we need, what kind of church we need to reach those people. Too often we have those priorities out of order. So as you consider about how to study your mission field redemptively, start with some very important questions. Here's some questions that I like to have people think about as I'm training or coaching them. What needs does Jesus want us to know about that will help us bring more people to Him? What assets and relationships could we use in our mission field that the Lord could use redemptively? Who knows what we need to know? What's not being done in our area that we could do? Who are the persons of peace that can introduce us to networks of relationships? And what could be our kingdom niche and unique contribution to the kingdom work in this area? So as you walk through those questions, there's some things that will help you study your mission field redemptively. First of all, let's talk about statistics. What do the demographics tell us? As you study those demographic statistics, you'll find great information about the ethnic diversity of your area, the economic makeup of your area, educational things. There's a lot of great information you can discern from those kind of statistics. However, as good as demographic information can be, it might be good, but it's not sufficient. The second thing you want to make sure you're doing is doing some spiritual survey work. That's to help us understand the spiritual dynamics of the area. So learn to study the past. Look for significant places. Begin to understand these kind of things, and it'll help you understand the spiritual dynamics of your area. The third area is one that I love to have people do as they're either ministering or planting in an area, and I call it checking the soil. Soil stands for Sphere of Influence Leaders. There are people in your area who know what you need to know. They have a sphere of influence in a given area that it also has a lot of relationships that you can use to help you learn what you need to know. And a spiritual leader with a listening posture is unfortunately all too rare in many communities. So the moment you enter in with a listening heart and a willingness to learn from others, you've begun to set yourself apart in the eyes of community leaders. Think about the different kinds of sphere of influence. I love to have leaders just build a list, but here's some that I've come up with other leaders as we've coached ourselves through these kind of things as we check the soil. Educational leaders, the school officials in your area, law enforcement, governmental leaders, the mayor and the county officials, especially city planners. Who are the spiritual leaders, the other pastors and parachurch leaders in your area? What about business leaders, Chamber of Commerce and Rotary leaders? How about the social service agencies? These are the people that are meeting people at points of need in many ways in your community. Media leaders, the local newspaper or radio, TV, things like that. Subcultures, special groups of people. You'll find them in the most interesting places: bikers, partiers, ethnic groups, things like that. What about realtors and builders? They're in tune with the growth of the area. Community organizations that gather around a common interest are important spheres of influence. Sports and recreational organizations, divine appointments the Lord sets up for you that He just makes sure you meet certain kinds of people. The spiritual leader of the area, I call the bishop, the person who's been there a long time and can see things from a long time kingdom perspective. There are other people that you might want to put on your list, but those are some examples. As you put names with those spheres of influence, then call up those leaders and say, may I sit down and visit with you? I'd like to learn from you. I'd like to be a great servant. Our church would like to be a great servant to our community. And I'd like to learn from you because you have a lot of influence in your sphere of relationships. And so when you get there, invite them out to lunch perhaps, or coffee, or meet them at their office. But here's some very simple questions. How would you describe this area to someone that might be new? What are this area's greatest strengths? From your vantage point, what are this area's greatest needs? What are some ways that a church that wants to be a servant to the community could serve with you or even partner with you for the betterment of our community? Learning to find common ground for the common good is a very powerful ministry opportunity. What advice would you give me as a spiritual leader in the area, especially if you're new to the area as a church planter? Who else could you recommend that I should talk to that could help me learn more? And finally, how can I pray for you and your family? Is there anything I can do to serve you? And may we keep you updated on our progress. All this information is included in the Game Plan for Intentional Ministry book, along with some worksheets. But as you study your mission field redemptively, there's two key things you're looking for. First, the spiritual strongholds that hold people back from knowing God. They're the things that have held people captive. And second, the redemptive gifts that the Lord wants to release that will set people free. So as you study your mission field redemptively, it'll help you discern the needs and the opportunities in your area. It'll also help you develop the ministries and become the kind of church that God wants you to be to reach your mission field. Go get them.